The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most enduring and complex issues of our time. It's a story of two peoples, both with legitimate claims to the same land. This conflict has its roots in ancient history, fueled by religious and nationalistic aspirations. The result is a quagmire of violence, mistrust, and despair. Understanding this conflict requires delving into the historical background, examining key events, and acknowledging the profound human cost. This essay explores the tangled narrative of the Israel-Palestine conflict. We will journey through time from the Ottoman Empire's rule to the establishment of the State of Israel. We will examine the plight of Palestinian refugees, the ongoing struggle for land and resources, and the elusive search for a lasting peace. This is not just a history lesson, but a call to understand the ongoing human tragedy and consider the path toward a just and peaceful future.
The land now known as Israel and Palestine holds deep historical and religious significance for both Jews and Palestinians, with a rich tapestry of cultures and traditions woven over millennia. For Jews, it is the biblical land of Israel, the site of their ancient kingdoms and the center of their faith, where stories of their ancestors are deeply rooted. For Palestinians, it is their ancestral homeland, where they have lived for centuries, cultivating the land and building their communities, passing down traditions through generations. The region has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, each leaving its mark on the cultural and demographic landscape, shaping the history and identity of its people. From the Romans to the Byzantines, the land changed hands numerous times, each era contributing to its rich architectural and cultural heritage. In the 7th century CE, the arrival of Islam brought about significant changes, introducing new religious and cultural dynamics. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque were built in Jerusalem, becoming major holy sites for Muslims, adding to the city's spiritual significance. For centuries, the region remained under the control of various Muslim empires, each contributing to its diverse cultural fabric. In the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire incorporated Palestine into its vast domain, bringing a new era of administration and cultural influence. Life under Ottoman rule was relatively peaceful, with Jews, Muslims, and Christians coexisting in relative harmony, sharing the land and its resources. However, the seeds of future conflict were sown in the late 19th century with the rise of Zionism, setting the stage for the complex and often turbulent history that would follow.
Zionism, a Jewish nationalist movement, emerged in response to growing anti-Semitism in Europe. The movement was spearheaded by figures like Theodor Herzl, who envisioned a safe haven for Jews in their ancestral homeland. Zionists sought to establish a Jewish state in Palestine, which they viewed as their historic homeland. This vision was fueled by the desire to escape persecution and create a secure future for Jewish generations. The movement gained traction, and Jewish immigration to Palestine increased significantly in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These new arrivals began to build communities, farms, and infrastructure, laying the groundwork for a future state. World War I brought about the demise of the Ottoman Empire, which had controlled Palestine for centuries. The power vacuum left by the Ottoman collapse set the stage for new geopolitical dynamics in the region. The British, having promised both Jews and Arabs independence in exchange for their support during the war, found themselves in a difficult position. These conflicting promises sowed the seeds of future discord. The League of Nations granted Britain a mandate over Palestine in 1922 with the stated goal of establishing a Jewish national home while safeguarding the rights of the existing Arab population. This dual obligation proved to be a challenging balancing act. The British Mandate period from 1922 to 1948 was marked by growing tensions between the Jewish and Arab communities. Both groups felt increasingly threatened by the other's presence and ambitions. Jewish immigration continued to increase, leading to competition for land and resources. This influx of new settlers often led to disputes over territory and agricultural land. Arab resentment grew and violent clashes became more frequent. The Arab population felt marginalized and threatened by the growing Jewish presence and the British policies that seemed to favor them. The British, caught in the middle, struggled to maintain order and appease both sides. Their attempts to mediate often fell short. leading to further unrest and setting the stage for future conflicts. Section 4. A land divided, the UN partition plan and its aftermath. Following World War II and the horrors of the Holocaust, international support for a Jewish state grew. The world was deeply moved by the plight of Jewish refugees who had survived the atrocities of the Holocaust and were seeking a safe homeland. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem as an international zone. This plan was seen as a compromise to address the conflicting national aspirations of both Jews and Arabs in the region. The Jewish leadership accepted the partition plan, albeit reluctantly, as it meant accepting less territory than they had hoped for. They saw it as a necessary step towards establishing a Jewish state, despite the compromises involved. The Arab leadership, however, vehemently rejected the plan, arguing that it was unfair and illegal. They believed that the plan disregarded the rights and wishes of the Arab majority living in Palestine. They saw it as an attempt to deprive them of their homeland. The rejection led to widespread protests and heightened tensions across the region. The stage was set for a bloody conflict. Clashes between Jewish and Arab communities escalated, leading to a full-scale war. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This historic moment was met with both jubilation and dread. The very next day, armies from neighboring Arab countries, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, invaded the newly formed state. The invasion marked the beginning of a prolonged and devastating conflict. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence in Israel and Al-Nakba, the catastrophe by Palestinians, had begun. This war would shape the future of the region for decades to come.
The war led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. Families were forced to leave their homes, carrying little more than the clothes on their backs. Refugee camps sprang up in neighboring countries, and what was supposed to be a temporary solution turned into a long-term crisis. Generations have grown up in these camps, holding on to the hope of one day returning to their homeland. The refugee crisis remains one of the most contentious and unresolved issues of the conflict.
In the territories of Israel and Palestine, two very different realities have taken shape. On one side, Israelis have built a thriving state with advanced technology, a strong economy, and a powerful military. On the other side, Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip face daily hardships. Restricted movement, economic instability, and frequent clashes with Israeli forces are a part of everyday life. The separation barrier, checkpoints, and settlements have further complicated the situation, making peace seem like a distant dream.
Over the decades, there have been numerous attempts to broker peace between Israelis and Palestinians. The Camp David Accords in 1978, the Oslo Accords in the 90s, and more recently, the Abraham Accords, have all aimed to bring an end to the conflict. Each agreement has brought moments of hope, but also periods of disappointment and setbacks. The path to a lasting peace remains fraught with challenges, but the efforts to reach an understanding continue.